of it, but you are aware that Elon has been getting money from the federal government for a number of years, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And it's my understanding that he has not made a recommendation to cut any of his money as we are trying to save money and save this country.
Jasmine Crockett wasn't buying the Trump administration's claim that government cuts are about efficiency. She turned the argument back on Elon Musk, questioning his business record, his federal contracts, and potential conflicts of interest, while warning that ordinary Americans could pay the price. Here's what happened.
Chair recognizes Ms. Crockett.
Thank you so much. And Mr. Dudero, I'm going to pick up where my colleague left off by number one, thanking you for your service. Even though, I mean, I don't really know if they would have been trying to push you out too, because it seems like anybody that knows what their job is gets pushed out. So congrats on your retirement. And I'm hoping that you have sunnier days ahead. But Ms. Tlaib just went through a series of things that she feels like this is, other than efficiency. And I have a term for what I believe is going on. I think it's just downright cruel. I think that you have people that literally do not have a heart. They're telling us that, oh, no, we're going to run the federal government like a business. Well, let me talk to you about the people that are allegedly running this business, because the federal government ain't a business. But let me clarify. If it was, I don't want it run like the president has run businesses. The president, it's my understanding, has filed bankruptcy 6 times. We don't have that luxury in the United States of America. But even when we start to think about Elon Musk, right now, as it relates to Tesla, the sales are down. As it relates to X, he has never made a profit since he bought X. In fact, the value of X is 75% lower than it has ever been. So if I am going to go look for somebody to run a business, I'm going to look for someone who is going to run one successfully. And before people start screaming and yelling about, well, he's a billionaire. Yeah, when you know the right people and they'll just give you money, then you can become a billionaire too. And maybe one day all of us will have that kind of access. But until then, I want to talk about the fact that congressional Republicans, again, as it's been stated, they don't care about government efficiency no more than they care about government services and programs that constituents rely on. And just like Elon is hiding from this committee, Republicans are now hiding from their constituents. Under the current Republican budget proposal, 166,000 people in the chairman's district could lose their Medicaid benefits, including more than 70,000 children. The same for the chairwoman of the DOGE subcommittee. Under the current budget proposal, 120,000 people in her district could lose Medicaid benefits, including 75,000 children. This is what efficiency looks like to Republicans, selling out their own constituents to pass tax cuts for their billionaire donors and friends. And rather than taking GAO's recommendations and discussing how Congress can help make federal employees and agencies more efficient, effective, and supported, they're firing probationary federal employees, which again, in my opinion, has led to planes actually falling out of the sky. But nevertheless, which is crazy because no one has been more unproductive than the Republicans on the Oversight Committee. Nevertheless, Mr. Dudero, of the 38 high-risk areas in GAO's 2025 report, more than half are due in part to staffing or skills gaps, which you've already discussed. In your written testimony to the committee, you stated, quote, when we have seen progress on high-risk issues, it has typically involved 3 essential elements: congressional action or oversight, commitment from top leaders at agencies, and active involvement by the Office of Management and Budget. In your opinion, has Congress done enough to ensure the mass indiscriminate purging of federal workforce doesn't, quote, impede the government from cost-effectively serving the public and achieving desired results? Yes or no?
Well, I talked before about telling the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Sometimes it's not a yes or no. I think Congress should get more engaged and proactive in this area. I've always encouraged administrations in the past to consult Congress in making some changes. Many of these things deal with laws that Congress passed, and I think Congress needs to get more active.
I agree. We need to do our constitutional duty, which is to conduct oversight. So again, I'm inviting Elon or anybody else that's a member of DOGE to come through and we can have a conversation. In fact, I am not aware of any recommendations that really go beyond just cutting those services that people need. There's not been any talk about cutting any of Elon's contracts, though. Not a one. Not that I'm aware of. Maybe you're aware of it, but you are aware that Elon has been getting money from the federal government for a number of years, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And it's my understanding that he has not made a recommendation to cut any of his money as we are trying to save money and save this country. At the end of the day, what I am going to say is that we had the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration open 5 investigations on Tesla for complaints of unexpected braking, loss of steering control, and crashes while cars were in self-driving mode. And Tesla tried to block at least 2 rulings from the National Labor Relations Board punishing Elon for tweeting that factory workers would lose stock options if they joined a union. This is a problem. Can you at least tell me that you agree, that you understand what a conflict of interest is, and that Elon
I am well aware of what a conflict of interest is, and we've been asked by the Congress to take a look at this situation, and we will.
Well, I appreciate that. And with that, Mr. Chair, I will yield.
Representative Jasmine Crockett delivered a sharp critique of the Trump administration's approach to cutting the federal workforce, arguing that what officials describe as efficiency can have very real consequences for ordinary Americans. Crockett began by questioning the idea that the federal government should simply be run like a business. Her argument was straightforward: the government exists to provide essential public services, not to maximize profits. She then turned her attention to President Trump and Elon Musk. Crockett questioned whether Musk's business record really makes him the person Americans should trust to restructure the federal government. She pointed to difficulties involving Tesla and the declining valuation of X, arguing that being a billionaire alone does not automatically make someone a successful manager. But Crockett's larger argument was about who ultimately pays the price for government cuts. She cited projected Medicaid losses in congressional districts and argued that families and children could lose access to health coverage while Republicans simultaneously pursue tax policies that Democrats say benefit wealthy Americans. Crockett then connected those concerns to the federal workforce. She pointed to Government Accountability Office findings identifying staffing and skills gaps as contributing factors in several high-risk areas. Her concern was that indiscriminate workforce reductions could actually make government less effective, rather than more efficient. That led to one of the most important parts of her questioning: congressional oversight. Crockett argued that Congress has a constitutional responsibility to examine what the administration and Elon Musk's DOGE operation are doing. She openly invited Musk or DOGE officials to appear before the committee and answer questions about their recommendations. Then the questioning became even more pointed. Crockett asked whether Musk's federal contracts were being scrutinized alongside other government spending. She noted that Musk has received substantial federal government business while participating in efforts to identify government spending that should supposedly be reduced. That raised an obvious question about conflicts of interest. Crockett cited investigations involving Tesla and allegations concerning Musk's conduct toward workers and unions, using those examples to argue that Congress needs to take potential conflicts seriously when a wealthy businessman has both private companies and influence over federal policy. The witness ultimately acknowledged that conflicts of interest were an issue Congress had asked them to examine. Crockett's broader message was clear: government efficiency cannot simply mean cutting services, firing workers, and reducing programs that families depend on. If the goal really is to make government work better, she argued, Congress should be looking at the evidence, protecting essential services, addressing staffing problems, and demanding transparency from the people making these sweeping decisions. And for Crockett, the central question remains: who benefits from these cuts, and who gets hurt?